Mr. Mike, we're about to go to call to order if you want to grab a seat over there. Okay, everybody? Jay, you want to see? Okay. Okay, it's approximately 7:02, and I would like to call the Satsuma City Council to order for our regular session meeting tonight on August the 17th, 2021. As we open our meeting tonight, we're going to ask that everyone continue to help us with the social distancing. I know some of you that are there together that come every week is fine, but we do appreciate y'all trying to keep a distance between you and help us to continue to practice good measures to do all we can do to prevent the spread of this disease. I was going to open in prayer tonight, but I realized we've got Brother Steve here from Satsuma Assembly, and he volunteered to come up and lead us in prayer. So I would like to ask Brother Steve to come up and lead us in a word of prayer, and then so we'll ask you to stand, remove your hats, stand, and remain standing for the pledge. Thank you. Brother Steve.
Father, we come before your throne today, thanking you for your love, your mercy, and your grace today. Lord, I just pray for our city today. I pray for our city council and mayor. Lord, for our fire department, our police department, our first responders, all of them, God, that you just touch and move. Lord, protect, and I pray your hand of protection over our city. Lord, we know with this COVID going around, Lord, we need your help and we need healing. Lord, for our citizens here in our city, we also ask, God, that you'd close this stuff out, Lord, through your power, your anointing. I pray your blessings over all the work that will be done here tonight. I pray, God, that the wisdom of God will be made relevant here today. I pray, God, that you're blessing over our city. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, if you would. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Brother Steve, for those words, and it's so true right now with all the sickness and all that we have going on in our community. Okay, Heather, would you give us a roll call, please?
Councilmember Little.
Present.
Councilmember Butler.
Present.
Councilmember Skelton.
Here.
Councilmember Reese.
Present.
Councilmember Phillips.
Here.
Mayor Barlow.
Here. Please let the record reflect that all are here, including the city clerk, city attorney, and all department heads. Moving on, number 4, approval of the minutes. A, approval of minutes from our regular meeting on August the 3rd of 2021.
Put that form of a motion. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Skelton, seconded by Mr. Little to approve the minutes as attributed from the last regular council meeting. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Those opposed. Moving on, B, approval of the minutes from the workshop on August the 10th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
Once again, a motion made by Mr. Skelton, seconded by Mr. Little to approve the minutes from our workshop. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay, number 5, there's no recognitions that we have tonight on the agenda. We'll go on to number 6, and I do think that Mr. Mike McKinley has arrived. He wanted to discuss, I think, an issue regarding the business over across the street where the shrimp lady's business is at. Mr. McKinley, if you would, please come up and state your name and address for us and tell us what your request is, okay?
My name is Mike McKinley. I'm over at the Shrimp Lady Shop, 5523 Highway 43. Everybody knows where I'm at. If you don't know, you can probably smell me. But anyhow, got a little road out there, a little path behind the shop that has posed a hazard to pedestrians and myself also, with people going through there sometimes at rates of speed that doesn't need to be gone through there. What I'd like to do is see about shutting it down, making it restricted access or whatever we can do, because sometimes we have people that walk over from the dollar store, we have people just living in the neighborhood come up through there, you got folks coming from the group home over there that walk through there a lot, and all this is posed a hazard. I've already been almost hit by one person one time, and that's everybody's seen my signs already, I know, so that's what provoked that. I really don't know what I need to tell y'all about it, other than it's a safety hazard, and it also hampers our growth. Because the right-of-way, I'm not exactly clear on it, but it seems like it comes right up to the back door of the shop on legal terms. We would like to have the room to grow. I think all of y'all seen what we're doing and how we're coming along and how much the community supports us on it. So we know we're liked and we want it to be there. And we need the room to grow and to provide more for everybody to come and enjoy the place.
Okay, Mr. McKinley, it was my understanding when you called me and asked about closing it, you were just wanting to stop the vehicular traffic in between there. You're not,
Correct.
you wasn't really implying us to stop any pedestrians walking or anything.
No, just vehicle traffic. The only vehicle traffic we'd like to have in there is, one, the trash truck. I like that pretty trash truck y'all brought in here. The trash truck, we do have our grease trap back there. We have that truck come in there, and then a few little deliveries that come through there. Then our personal traffic in there doing our business. But as far as people cutting through, going to the dollar store, it's not that far to go around the regular way. I've already pretty much cut down the traffic back there by about 90%. There's still folks that go through there, but everybody has slowed down to an acceptable, by me, rate of speed. So restricted access would be nice. Total closure would be even better. A total closure would actually save the city money because I wouldn't have to worry about any kind of maintenance to it at all anymore. We would assume all the maintenance to it, and if down the road something happens and, we're not there anymore, well, it can be easily reopened and it'll be maintained because, it's got some nice little potholes in there.
Is that even a road?
Yes.
It's got a road named something, 2nd Avenue or 2nd Street or.
I don't recommend driving on it.
I've had some folks come through there. I don't know how the front end stayed on the car.
I think that's where old Fifth Street used to go through years ago. It went across and the city closed it whenever the post office was built and where the
Right.
Conway drugstore and all is now. And so that's how the road used to go through and come out by the old Methodist church there. If I remember right, it seems like that's the way it was.
Well, I hope you do remember right, because I sure don't.
I told Mr. McKinley I didn't have a problem with us, stopping or reducing the traffic going through there. And it's them trying to run a business, but I wanted to bring it before the council so y'all could look at it and discuss and see what the best solution we would have as far as just closing the right of way for vehicular traffic cannot go through there. I think that's really the request that's before us tonight.
That's what I would like.
And he rents from Mr. Mead, who said he's had a business license here since 1967 in Satsuma, and he had requested that years ago, and I just don't recall the reason the council didn't want to close it, that part of it, when they did the remainder. So,
Mayor, best I could remember, and I think Tom stepped out, but there was some issue if we did close it, and that would be my question, legality of it, could we reopen it, if we close it? There was something to do with the property, and I can't exactly
Well, my suggestion on the closure on that, Randy, was whatever we use to close it, to make it not a permanent thing. If we've got some metal barricades or something, we can just put those up. And then down the line, if something happens, it needs to be reopened for whatever reason, then all you have to do is remove the barricades. I don't think we need to do any major construction or anything like that. My barricades have been working pretty good. Even to the folks who want to know how it became a private drive.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not in favor of doing a total closure because then you give up your easement right through there. But we should be able to, and this is a J question, we should be able to block the road and still hold ownership to the road.
It was really never an open roadway, though, that I know of. I mean, it's just kind of been abandoned as it
Right.
went behind the old Gator Drive-In.
Right.
And they let them build a game room there back in the 70s, I think. So that's, you know,
If it's not an open roadway, it's fairly easy to close it. If it's an open road that's been opened up, there's some difficulty in doing that. I think there are ways to do it. I would need to look at it a little closer to do that, but,
Well, see,
if you
that's the-
abandoned it, it wouldn't solve his problem. He would get half of it and
That's what I don't want to
somebody
do,
else
yeah.
would get it. So y'all are talking about just closing it for
Just-
traffic.
that's
but
right,
Still
the traffic.
maintaining ownership of that.
right.
The difficulty is going to lie with whether it's opened or not.
I think it's open.
I'm not saying you can't do it if it's open, but it may take a little more effort to do that.
I think that was one of the issues, that it actually is open, an open road, unless I'm mistaken.
Well, we was sitting on the council when they asked to do a total closure. It's the only time I remember coming up, and we would not do that because we didn't want to lose ownership to it.
Well, maybe that was
Yeah.
the issue.
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
Well, there is a
And I'm
financial
fine,
side
too,
of it too.
with a partial whatever, you know.
Yeah, I
if
mean,
keep
I'm
us-
fine with
Keep
that.
us in the clear, you know.
Well, by closing the road, our business gets to grow. Our business grows, so does the tax revenue for the city.
You know, plus it's a place to sit and eat out there now. If you leave that road open, I mean, I don't want to be sitting there eating with dust blowing in the air and coming through there and stuff like
That's
that.
one of the things that we had on our future plans is
Yeah.
changing the seating area more towards the back of the store.
Mike, if you don't mind, can we let our attorney look at it and see if what, you know, possible avenues we have? I'm not hearing any real objection as long as we can legally do it. I don't recall us ever maintaining that, and I know that's part of an open road, is that you got to show that there's some maintenance on the road and that there's upkeep. And I mean, I don't recall us ever putting a street sign up or a street light or maintaining it. So,
Rock in there, anything.
so
I'll look at it, give us something to go by next meeting.
Crystal, did we ever grade that road? No? Okay. In the time you've been here, have we ever graded? That's what I said, I've never seen it graded either.
It's just hard dirt, isn't it?
I was going to ask, is it paved or?
It's,
No, it's dirt.
it's dirt, rocks, and holes.
I mean, there's like pilot holes there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we haven't graded it.
Yeah.
well, I'm pretty sure it has not been on any list y'all have submitted since I've been here saying that we've done anything. Mike, I think it's going to take us a little legal research on the matter so we can,
Yeah.
you know, make sure that we are legal in what we're doing.
Well, y'all do that, and I'm just
Yeah.
gonna keep cooking.
Okay, well, you keep cooking and
Yeah.
All right,
hopefully
if
we
y'all
can
done with me, I'll
do that.
see y'all tomorrow.
Thank you. Okay, we have had a couple people come in tonight. So if there's anyone wanting to come before the council tonight, you're welcome to come up. Keep your comments brief. Just identify yourself and tell us what issue you might have, and we'll gladly let you come up. So, okay, well, we do have one person going to come up. We still got to get your name and all, but I think we all know you.
I'm Judy Callan, Women's Club of Satsuma, 5603 Orchard Street. I'm here tonight because the ladies are going to have, to benefit the chapel that hopefully we're going to get one day built, we're going to have a 50s dinner on November the 7th. And we paid our cleaning fee, but we just asked that you would waiver the cost of the rental service that night. So if you could see fit to do that. And also support us on November the 7th. It's going to be country dinner with all the trimmings. So we look forward to seeing y'all.
Thank you.
Okay? I think that's on for discussion later on the agenda tonight, so. Okay, is there anyone else wanting to come before the council? Okay, sir, if you would, come on up, please, and
Good evening. My name is Lloyd Golden, and I'm here to discuss an issue with the tennis courts.
okay, sir. What's your address, Mr. Golden?
600 Vaughn Drive North.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Golden, go ahead.
I'm a voice of one representing about 10 other players on the courts. The courts now are locked, and the rumor is it's because they're unplayable. That they're close to being unplayable, particularly for tennis, but where they're really not being able to use them is the people who do skateboarding out there and other types of activity, because the cracks in the courts are about an inch wide, and a wheel and a skateboard could catch it and, cause a person to fall. But the tennis players that are out there that are playing tennis, they're not going to trip over that crack. I've been playing there about 6 or 7 years. I only fell once, and I separated my shoulder, but it wasn't because of the crack. And the other players, too, are playing to the degree that they're not falling, like every other day. So if you were to restrict the court strictly to tennis players, that no one else could go in there but tennis players, and so state that it's restricted for tennis players only, and then maybe even, so I hear the cities, it will be liability if somebody after they got hurt. But if you indicate on the sign that you play at your own risk, then I don't see how they could hold the city responsible for turning an ankle or breaking an arm. So there's about 10 of us that would like to see them open back up. That's
Okay,
it.
Mr. Golden, I think what you're talking about is the tennis courts had a lock put on them, and
Yes, sir.
they were locked out. Yes, sir. I heard about that too. I'm really not sure. I was aware that had occurred until after it had happened, so I really don't know how that actually took place. So I went up there and looked at them after I heard that, and there's certainly some cracks there, but they looked to me like they had been there for quite some time. It wasn't anything that had just
They sure have been,
just
sir.
caused the action to close it. So I really don't know what else to say.
At the workshop, you thought that the courts were already locked based on a conversation that we had at a previous meeting.
At a workshop, actually, in June, you brought up that we needed to lock them, right?
I'm just making a statement.
So,
But the courts were suggested to be locked now that the city is aware of the liability. We had a professional come out and give us a quote on the resurfacing, and he said in his professional opinion, he would advise us to lock the gates due to the disrepair of the cracks in the court. He felt like it wasn't safe for people to play on them, and so we took his recommendation. And we also have his quote to do the work of the resurfacing project, and we hope to get that passed today and move on with the project to get it back to where you guys can start playing again.
Okay. Any time frame when that might be?
I think it was mentioned, October, September, October?
When they can do it?
Yes, sir, in the next month or two.
Okay. Well, one last comment, and we've been playing on them like that for years.
I don't know that any of us had gone up there to that extent to look at it for in need of repairs, and it was at that time that it was discussed to lock it up for safety reasons. So I've been up there to play, not recently, but I mean, I don't feel that it's safe, but when we discussed it as a group and we all became aware of it as a city, is when it becomes the liability, that we're aware of a condition that is unsafe.
So there's no maneuver for us to say that we're not going to hold you liable if we get injured?
Sign a hold
That would-
harmless form?
That would be up to our attorney. And as far as the skateboarding and roller skates, I believe there is a sign up there that prohibits those because they do tear up the court. So, but I mean, there's nobody up there to tell them not to play, with that kind of equipment, but it is discouraged.
Well, if they put a sign up that restricts it just to us, and we even sign, I guess, an affidavit that said I wouldn't hold you responsible if I broke a shoulder or turned a knee or something like
I
that.
think that would be more a question for the
Well,
attorney. I don't
Okay,
know.
yeah, I'm just,
Sure, I understand what you're saying. Yes, absolutely.
but to lock us out till October, I don't know. I don't like that.
I went and looked at them cracks, and they're not settlement cracks. And when we're talking about settlements, when there's two different levels.
They're level cracks.
And that's when you create tripping hazards.
Right.
As a matter of fact, in my business, what I do when there's a settlement crack, we put in a tripping hazard. But when it's just a crack, we note the crack because there's no uneven surface to create that. So, you know.
And it was not my decision to close the courts. I came before the council and we had all agreed
I didn't
that,
vote to close them.
well, I don't think we voted.
That's what I'm saying. The first I heard
Well,
of when there's locked.
let's unlock it then. Fine by me.
I'm fine with it. I'm just saying, I don't think it's a safety issue as far as the crack because it's not a settlement crack.
That's not my
creates that.
decision though, so.
The only issue that we tennis players have with the crack is when the ball hits the crack. It don't come to me, it goes out that way. But that's.
That'd be up
just
to the
part of
mayor
game.
then,
Oh,
I
yeah, oh,
suppose.
yeah, I'm not saying that's a reason to replace the cracks or repair them.
No,
That's the only irritating thing is when the ball hits it, it does something other than.
Mr. Golden, I think maybe we can address this. Crystal, could you get a couple of signs made tomorrow to use caution while playing tennis? And let's go ahead and try to take the locks off, because as Mr. Golden said, those cracks have been there for, it appeared, years. I mean, we looked at it, they've got weeds growing up through them, so I can't see locking them out until that time, at least when they're going to start the, construction, if that's what y'all vote for tonight. So we'll see if we can get those unlocked tomorrow, and
Thank you, sir.
maybe you can play, because it may take some time. It
Okay.
seems like all our projects are taking maximum length of time to get started these days, so, that's
Oh.
what everybody's running into, so I hate to tell him we're going to be starting it soon and him not be able to do it. Does that answer your question
sir.
or help you out,
Thank you.
Mr. Golden?
There are tennis players are going to be happy tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks
Have a
for
good
being
evening.
here.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Is anyone else coming before the council tonight? I would like just to state for the record then that in our pre-council tonight, we discussed from Ms. Roberta Swan a request for funding for Mobile Bay National Estuary Program. She gave us about a 15 or 20-minute talk regarding the, I guess basically, if y'all don't mind me paraphrasing, kind of the Clean Water Act and some of what other cities are doing, mainly on the Eastern Shore, what they've been doing, but now they're bringing in those on the Western Shore, being Mobile and Chickasaw, Saraland, Satsuma, I guess, and they'll go on up to Creola. So she gave that, and she requested a donation next year in the amount of $5,000 where we can, where they help with different programs in education regarding the waterways. And anyway, I did tell her that we would put that in the minutes tonight, that she did show up, and she made a good presentation and left us some literature here to read. And that'll be up to the council as we move forward in the budget process. So, if there's no one else to come before the council, I guess we'll go into regular order of business tonight. First thing on the mayor's report, kind of taking off, following up on what Brother Steve had stated. Speaking with the other mayors here locally, the continued rise of the COVID has really hit all of our cities hard. Some have hit a lot harder than others. I know that a couple are saying that they've got a lot of employees out from it. There's been a lot of sickness. It seems like all of our fire rescue units have had increased calls, so it's impacted that. But we have recently, due to COVID and the accidents and just other things, we've lost a lot of good, valuable citizens from not only Satsuma, but Saraland and Creola too. So I would like to give a sympathy to those families. Also, Mr. Little down here lost his uncle. Most, I think, of you would know Mr. Ed Black, that had a garage repair here across the street from us for probably 30 years. Randy, a real well-liked gentleman here in our community. So I'd like for, I think on behalf of all of us here on the council, give our condolences to you and your mother in that loss. So he will
Thank you.
certainly be missed. We have a couple of others, but I don't think that the news has gotten out, so we will discuss that, but later. So, but we have had several in our community. there's some things that's, we have taken place that I would like just to put on the minutes of our meeting tonight. Last Friday, there was a FEMA meeting out at EMA where Mr. Jerry Carl had to attend it by Zoom, but he was there along with the FEMA director from this region, Mr. Bonner from the governor's office, several of the mayors, and some public works employees from throughout the county. They explained the ways or mistakes that had been made in the paperwork, how it had been filled out by some cities regarding the storms of last year, and they gave suggestions on how to prepare in case we have one this year. Obviously, all of us are hoping that we can avoid one this year, but I know we just had a narrow miss yesterday, so we've encouraged the department heads to continue to plan and make preparations for the bad weather. Last Tuesday night, the council held a workshop. We mainly discussed the budget, where we're at this year, where we're looking like we think we'll wind up the year, and started our preparations for next year's budget. Earlier tonight in our workshop, we agreed to have an agenda, and we're going to vote on the agenda as the meeting starts at the early point of it. And if it's not brought up in our pre-council, it will take a unanimous vote of the council to add something, which we will have things we have to add. Emergencies happen after the agendas are made. But once we vote on the agenda, if this hasn't been listed or discussed, it will not come up. We're still waiting on the building inspector list, which I know y'all get tired of hearing me say every time we meet. I am too. But we do have, I think Heather told us in pre-council, 58 applicants for the position of assistant city clerk. So hopefully that is moving forward, and we would like to get that position filled because the three ladies in the office are certainly stretched pretty thin. So especially if one of them has to take off or attend something not here. At last week's meeting, we discussed setting a public meeting. It will be called a public meeting instead of a public hearing. I think there's a difference in the way we have to hold those. It will be in conjunction the city council and the water sewer board, where we will discuss the project of getting water and sewer to the west side of the I-65, the South Oak, West Oak, Regina area. We're required to have the public hearing to address people's concerns, to let them see what the project entails. But if everything goes well, and we're hoping it will, the engineering is about complete, and it should be completed on the night of the hearing, to answer the questions that we feel like may be brought up. But we're hoping that soon after that public hearing, we can start boring the interstate there at the end of Woodland to go over on South Oak, to wind up in front of South Oak Drive at the I-65 service road. Mr. Phillips and Mr. Skelton have attended, either one or both of them, the meetings that we've had with the county and with the engineering firm, so they are moving forward. It's finally coming to fruition, I feel like, and I feel like we may be seeing some real action on that project soon. The only downside that we have faced is the project appears to be about 30% more than it was just about 6 months ago due to the increase in the casing and the pipe and the things that we must buy. But anyway, I did want to make sure that we put that in the minutes tonight, that the meeting will be held at Steel Creek Lodge at the recommendation of Mr. Skelton, so we can spread out and have more room, so no one, in case we do have a big crowd, that we have more room for everybody parking and in attendance and in those facilities. So y'all put that on your calendar, because I do think that that's going to be a very important project that we get started. And of course, not too long after that, we're going to have to start discussing some funding and some cost estimates and what y'all think we might do with some of the money we have received. And so, like I said, I think that there are other things that's going to come up tonight but most of that will be discussed in the discussion or consideration of other things. So with that being said, I'll move on to the next item for B, Public Services, and Mr. Little.
Thank you, Mayor. Did want to mention that last Friday morning, we received our new sanitation truck, and I was very proud to get it. Our representative come out that usually helps us with that and actually delivered it as himself, and he said we was very lucky to get our new truck. So, with that being said, he said if we ordered another one today for the next one coming up, he said he can't guarantee that we would get it. He said that as of right now, this year, they've had 3 or 4 surcharges already on steel. And a big part of that garbage truck is steel and other components that they not able to get for those Peterbilts. So he's going to start working us up a price quote. That'll be up to us if we want to go ahead and act on it. But he said, I know he's a salesman, but his recommendation, is to go ahead and get the order in. And, we wouldn't have to pay for it right now. It'll come later, but he just said unless things changes, and he told me, he said if there was 4,000 orders that was canceled today, they, because they can't handle the orders now, or he can't fulfill them. And said because we ordered it when we did, it's why we got it now. So just kind of, letting y'all know or giving you an update to that. Also, I mention this from time to time, but we also have a couple of trash trucks that works almost every day of the week, and I just want to put this out there. Our dumping fees is very expensive. If you will, try to help us in that area as far as putting your trash out. They tell us that 2 cubic yards is the maximum that we would like to allow to be picked up. That's, if you put it in layman's terms, that's about a pickup truck load if you, filled your pickup truck up with it. So, hey, they come around every week, so try to keep that to a minimum. And we also have our trash route that's open 2 days a week. So utilize and use it also. I think that's all, Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Little. Moving on to Public Safety, Mr. Butler.
Okay, in the fire department, we got a report for the calls to August the 1st until August the 17th. We got 38 calls for MS. We got 19 calls for the fire and 57 total calls. And we got 2 calls for the aid. And I don't have anything else but that for the fire department. That's all we got. Nothing else.
Okay, thank you for the fire report, Mr. Butler. Moving on to administration, Mr. Skelton.
The only thing I have is if you'll just send us your expense budgets as soon as you get them. That way we can go ahead and compile it into the big file. That's all I have.
That's cool. Moving on, Parks and Recreation.
Yes, sir. The next municipal dinner is this Thursday at 7 p.m. in Citronelle. And on the officers that get nominated and voted on, usually there's not too many people that want to volunteer, but we are looking for a chaplain as well as a secretary. David Farrell is opening it up, I guess a time for his family and other obligations have it where he needs someone else to step in. So if you know anybody, I'm looking at y'all who wants to do chaplain duties or secretary. please let me know. Also, I have been notified that I have achieved the status of Advanced Certified Municipal Official, so I will attend a ceremony in Montgomery in November. I'm excited about that. Also, at the next council meeting, we will be adopting a resolution for the Bark Park. So little by little, we are getting closer to opening that up. That's all I have.
Moving on to Public Works, Mr. Phillips.
Mayor, I got a list here of jobs Public Works is completing the last 2 weeks, and they've used over 3 tons of asphalt to fill potholes throughout the city in various places. They've replaced most street signs now. It's been stowed, and there's a few we're still waiting on that's been ordered. The signage for the beacon lights, a pedestrian walk right there at H.P. Kane Bridge has been installed. We did move the speed hump at Chase Way back away from the driveway of that homeowner. And the final section of the one on Dale Drive was installed. I wasn't aware it was short, but they installed it. Of course, they've been weed eating all the ditches and the right-of-ways and butch hogging throughout the city and spraying the dishes. They've got a lot accomplished in the last 2 weeks.
Yes, it does seem like have been able to get a lot done, especially with the inmates and all, so we've gotten several compliments. That's good.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay, moving on. Items number 8 for discussion and/or items for discussion and/or consideration. A is payment of the bills.
Real quick before we move forward, Mayor, do we need to vote to amend?
The agenda?
Yep.
Okay, at that,
Do that here?
yeah, we'll do that here. Move into that.
All right.
I guess it really wouldn't matter at what point. This is more of an agreement among all of us, but the agenda items, the agenda was posted. We went through this in the pre-council, but we did add 2 things tonight, a discussion, which would have been J for an excavator at the request of Mr. Phillips, and the payment of a personnel bill, a board bill that continues to pop up where they're saying we owe money that I requested to be added. So that would be items J and K. But, so we will amend the budget, amend the agenda, I've been listening to y'all say it, to reflect that those 2 items will be added for discussion in this. So,
I'll put that in form of a motion.
Second.
motion made by Mr. Skelton, seconded by Mr. Phillips to amend our agenda tonight to add those 2 items. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Yeah.
Okay, we will now have an agenda. Yeah, that'd be good. Let's go ahead and do a roll call vote.
Councilmember Little?
Yes.
Councilmember Butler?
Yes.
Councilmember Skelton?
Yes.
Councilmember Reese?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
Yes.
Mayor Marley?
Yes. Okay, now we'll return back to the agenda as it was published. And A was payment of the bills.
I'll make a motion, we pay our bills in the amount of $31,661.06.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Skelton, seconded by Ms. Reese to pay the bills in the set amount. Any discussion? Any questions? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Moving on. B, consideration of hiring Suzanne Baldwin as a part-time police officer to be effective September the 25th, 2021.
I'll make a motion, we approve.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Butler, seconded by Mr. Little to approve the hiring of the part-time police officer to be effective on the listed date. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Moving on to item number, third item C, discuss and consideration on the quote to repair the tennis courts.
Mayor, I move that we accept the bid from American Tennis Courts in the amount of $31,733 to cover the items in the quote, lines 1 through 9, as well as option 1 for the crack repair system.
Second.
Mayor, before we vote on that, I'd like to say one thing. First of all, I'd like to say I know that Councilwoman Reese has put a lot of time and effort into getting their bids and getting things in order. But due to all the money we spent this year that wasn't budget items, I just don't feel like the timing's right. I personally would like to see it, go forward, and I know we're going to a vote, but I just think it's important that I say that I just don't think it's good timing for the money we spent. And I'd also like to put in the motion that we do a roll call vote.
I don't have a problem with what you said or a roll call vote. I would echo those same thoughts. The discussion of the repair of the tennis courts have been made several times. I never heard any opposition to it, only the start date. Are we going to start it here in August in the middle of hurricane season at the end of this budget year, or start it at the first of next year? Somehow that turned into a dispute the other night. So I tend to agree with you. I would support that, but I would support it being in the next budget year. That kind of goes along with, I would like to complete one project prior to us starting another project. So, but I've said that all along. Yes, ma'am. We're open for discussion. So.
Sure. There is money set aside in capital for this project for this year. I'm not sure what would happen with the money if we didn't spend it, what it would be used for. And the reason why I'm for this project at this time is because the only work that will be required by the city is for the city to dig out the grass under the edges of the fence, which would only be one time, and then to treat the vegetation in the cracks to ensure that it didn't grow back prior to the project. After that, this company is going to be handling, the beginning through the end, which would not require our employees at all. And I understand that there is a shortage of people to go around the city, and that's why I'm for this particular project at this time.
Okay, well, I don't see any reason for us to get into another heated dispute. I'd said all along, all year, that I just didn't want to start projects at the end of the fiscal year. I will continue to echo that and say it. I think accounting, as we have already learned, starting projects in August and then going, because it will never be here and completed prior to the end of this fiscal year. But I've already said that. I brought that up. I know you said it, and I read somewhere that it had been discussed for like 5 years now to do this. So I think Mr. Skelton's affirming that.
And we do have, the quote is dated from June 21st, so we have been sitting on it for a while.
And we have been doing other projects, and I would like to make sure that you note that I think that during that time, we was also putting a library roof on that was at approximately $30,000 too, and which had followed us doing repairs at the Steel Creek Lodge, which wasn't far behind us doing the completing our upgrades at for the concession stands and the restrooms that went into about the March or April. Is that not correct, ma'am? I mean, you're laughing as though that there's some dispute on that. So there has been several park projects completed in the 9 months that we've been in office. So.
My concern also, Mr. Reese, you talk about, what else are we going to use the money for? But the money out of capital can be used for almost anything that we need it for. My question, Mr. Skelton, the capital money that's there now, is that is it held pretty steady as far as where we at over the last year? Is everything?
Yeah, we've kind of held that same balance for the last, couple of years. But when we were doing sidewalk projects, whenever we had to do the matching part, that would come out. But once we got the portion back from ALDOT, that money was put back in the capital.
So, the renovation of Steel Creek Lodge out of capital, is that out of that grant?
We haven't even done anything with
No,
that
I
yet.
mean, just on the list. I'm just curious. I couldn't figure out which one it was from. Is it coming out of the grant? That's what I was asking. Which one it comes from?
Not the lodge
No, no,
itself.
no.
The lodge?
You're talking about the lodge renovations, right?
Yes, kitchen and all
Yeah,
that
that's
stuff.
capital.
Okay.
The Go Mesa part is the boardwalk and parking and
Okay.
ramps and stuff.
And I also have 51% of my budget left since there hasn't been very much work done at all in the Parks Department. I feel like some money can be moved from that to cover the tennis courts. So, and I stated that in the pre-council.
We're not going to argue about that labor in the budget, but we know the work was done and who paid for it.
Well,
That
like the
money's sitting
roof, the city didn't do the roof, the contractors
there.
did.
About the
and-
labor.
And that was paid for out of,
But there's a motion made to
FEMA
vote,
funding.
Mayor. I think we need to move forward. We don't need to argue.
I
over it.
I didn't cut you off, but okay.
Any other discussion? I think the things have been said, so as Mr. Phillips pointed out, and I think Ms. Reese did also, has been discussed. So now, there's a motion made by Ms. Reese, and it was seconded by Mr. Skeleton to the quote for repair, but I think this is actually totally, is more than just repairing the cracks, it's total resurfacing of the 31,000, isn't that correct?
Yes, sir. Do you want me to read everything?
I just wanted to make sure that our motion says repair, that we are repairing the crack and then resurfacing is what your motion was.
Yes, sir. It's standard resurfacing, thoroughly clean and pressure wash the courts, fill all cracks, patch and level roots that have affected the court surface on the north end and west side of the courts, fill and level all low-lying areas holding greater than an eighth inch of water, install 1 coat of acrylic resurfacer, install 2 coats of acrylic color, install textured white playing lines, install 2 sets of light blue pickleball playing lines using the tennis net as the pickleball net. Install two tennis nets and center straps. And then also apply the right way crack system, which is, let's see. I think I put it over here. 892 linear feet. So that's how many cracks are over the surface of the courts inside the fence. Also, adjust and reinforce the gate in the northwest corner. Install additional tension wire on the ends of the courts to keep the ball from rolling under the fence. Install a 3-foot, well, let's see. I got a couple lists going on here. Sand and paint the net posts, provide and install the tennis score tube, provide and install the tennis court tray and basket valet, provide 2 courtside benches that are weatherproof and need to be secured to the fence, and a 2-year warranty on all labor and materials. That's what the money gets you.
There was a motion made by Ms. Reese and seconded by Mr. Skelton to do the said work on the tennis courts. Mr. Phillips asked for this to be a roll call vote. So with that being said,
Councilmember Little,
Yes.
Councilmember Butler,
Yes.
Councilmember Skelton,
Yes.
Councilmember Reese,
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips,
No.
Mayor Barlow.
no. Okay. the
We can
motion
hear
passed.
y'all back there.
So-
Thank you.
Discuss, the next item was consideration of the purchase of a 2021 Chevy Police Package Tahoe for the price of $34,500 out of our narcotics fund.
Make a motion. And we've already talked this before, because the drug fund, we have the money for that.
Mike, hold.
About-
Did you get a second?
Second.
Yeah, I'll go ahead then. All right,
Second.
but anyway, I was talking we got like $97,000 in the drug fund, and the only thing that we can use with it is for police department, for vehicles, just like for the canine dog, all of his supplies, like food, his vet, and all that. So that's the only thing that we're doing for this. It doesn't hurt with the city budget. So That wanted to say, I just made the motion, and I guess Jason said second.
I'd like to make a comment on that, just being we're open for discussion too. And Mr. Butler, I don't doubt that UConn's needed. And discussion's going a little deeper than just the UConn with me. And what I'm concerned with is just the spending overall in the police department. Like we said in the last workshop, you know, we purchased 5 vehicles in 7 months. And the last 2 bought, we haven't received delivery on yet that I know of. And at that time, it was asked, do we need to purchase a Yukon instead of one of them 2? And the answer was no. Within 2 months later, we come up with this. You know, I personally, and I agree with you about what you can spend the money on, but you can also use that money to pay labor too, for the officer.
Use it for what now?
You can use it for the officer's salary also. You know, and but, you know, I personally felt like we should cancel the order on one of them 2 vehicles and buy the Yukon. And that would help the chief's budget too. You know, but that's my opinion. And I'd also like to ask for a roll call vote on this also.
I know the Tahoe's gonna cost $34,500. Do we have an estimate? I mean, we're gonna have to equip that, vehicle also, right? Do you have an estimate on that? That I assume will be taken out also of this fund?
Yes, sir. Everything's going to come out of the narcotics fund, and this one is going to be a specially equipped unit. It's going to have more than your standard patrol vehicle.
And how much will that cost?
It's probably going to be, what do we say, another 25,000, 30,000? The kennel lights, the LPR. Also, Mr. Butler, we did get an additional $8,000 put into that account this week, so it's well over 100,000 now.
Right.
So we're talking about 75,000 instead of 35.
Somewhere around 70,000 probably. I like Mr. Phillips. I'm wondering, you know, 6 vehicles in the police department's a lot in a year. I know when I first got elected, you said we had to have 2 new cars a year to maintain our fleet at where we were at. I'm just curious on why, like he said, I mean, why didn't we 2 months ago when we assessed our needs in the police department identify a car that was 10 years old as being one that needed a replacement and look at it at that time and buy something that would meet your needs? The biggest factor that led to this decision was we were awarded $82,000. Yeah, we were awarded over $80,000 from one drug seizure, and that's what prompted the decision to go ahead and replace this vehicle. The vehicle is going to be issued to Officer Moore, who is our K-9 officer, and he has done the lion's share of work of getting these drug seizures put into the department. As far as the number of vehicles purchased, we've purchased 4. I'm not sure.
I remember 3 when we first went in office, and then the last 2. Am I wrong?
No, sir. We purchased 2, which we were trying to get model year 20s, which we were not able to get a model 20. We had to get 21s. So then the 2 that we purchased were actual 421.
How many total vehicles do we have?
Right now we've got about 18.
18. How many officers we have?
We've got 14 full-time, and we've got 6 part-time, and we do still have 3 vacancies. I would like to say, though, you mentioned the number of vehicles that have been purchased in the past. One of the things that got us into a bind was years 16, 17, and 18. We purchased a total of 1 vehicle, and that vehicle was totaled during Sally. And that really put the police department in a bind as far as the condition of our fleet.
Would it be possible to get a list of vehicles with mileage?
Yes, sir.
Just so we'll know what needs to be upgraded and what don't?
Yes, sir, absolutely. And we also, the Dodge Charger that we surplused earlier this year, we did not have a direct replacement for that vehicle, so we were actually
one short from where we needed to be to keep up our fleet. The two that are coming are replacing an Impala that we've already had a deadline because of mechanical issues, and it's also going to replace a nearly 20-year-old Ford Taurus.
Any further discussion regarding the purchase of it? Was you asking for a roll call vote on that one again, Mr. Phillips? I didn't know
Yes.
what you were doing.
Yes.
Councilmember Webb?
Yes.
Councilmember Butler?
Yes.
Councilmember Skelton?
Yes.
Councilmember Reese?
Yes.
Councilmember Phillips?
No.
Mayor Barlow?
No, I feel like we should have identified the vehicles that was needed 2 months ago when we discussed them, and it wasn't even brought up, so. But let it reflect that the past, and so I guess you'll get your vehicle. Moving on, E, consideration of setting a public hearing on September the 7th, which will be the next regular council meeting. We agreed in pre-council to make the public hearing at 6:30 p.m. here in the council chambers to discuss a nuisance abatement for the Louise Cartier properties located at 5556 Magnolia Avenue, 203 Orange Avenue, 262 Orange Avenue, 212 Orange Avenue, and 214 Orange Avenue.
Mayor, make that in form of a motion.
I second it.
Motion made by Mr. Little and seconded by Mr. Phillips that we set a public hearing on that date for the reason for the abatement nuisance ordinance and to proceed with actions against these properties. Any further discussion? If there is no discussion, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
And those opposed. Moving on to number F, consideration of allowing the Women's Club to use Steel Creek Lodge on November the 7th, 2021 for a fundraiser, exempting them from the rental fee, but requiring the cleaning fee of $125. It says to apply.
I make that motion.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Reese, seconded by Mr. Little to waive the rental fee, only applying the cleaning fee for the Women's Club on that day. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
And let it show the motion passed. Moving on, consideration for opening a promotional public safety worker 2 position in Public Works Department.
I'll put that in the form of a motion, Mayor.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Phillips and seconded by Mr. Skelton to create the opening. We'll ask the Personnel Board to open that position for promotion. Any further discussion? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
And those opposed. So we'll proceed with that. And H, consideration of purchasing a bucket truck for the Public Works and other departments, I think was what Mr. Phillips was wanting to say earlier, for throughout the city, any department, in the amount of $12,000. I think Mr. Skelton, you was going to bring that up.
Yeah, I'll put that in form of a motion.
Second.
A motion made by Mr. Skelton, seconded by Mr. Phillips to purchase the truck for the set amount. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay, moving on. Consideration of purchasing some budget preparation software from Harris Local Government. That's for the computers in the amount of $3,486, but with an annual fee of $1,257 we'll have to maintain the program.
Put that in form of a motion.
Second.
Okay, for discussion of those not here, it's been discussed at the prior council meeting and at the workshop. Everybody agreed on that. With no further discussion on the matter, motion made by Mr. Skelton, seconded by Mr. Phillips, wasn't it?
Yes.
Seconded. Okay. All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, let it show that it's passed. Moving on to the 2 add-on items. J, Mr. Phillips requested some time to discuss the purchase or some type of agreement to buy a mini excavator. Mr. Phillips?
Yes, Mayor. First of all, I'd like to thank Crystal for the work she's put into getting these bids. It's been an ongoing thing for about a month. And, I spoke several times about prioritizing things we go by and all. And when Mr. Skelton was able to get this boom truck, I felt like they should take priority over it. So I'm not gonna put into a motion to purchase this excavator at this time. I would like, though, we make sure it's in next year's budget and then purchase it in the next budget year, which is only a couple of months out, you know. So I want to delay that.
How long is that quote good for?
It's gonna cost us 4% more to wait, is what it's what they told us, you know, when we was talking to them, that it would be an increase. Now, whether it is or not, I don't know. This quote won't be no more good, but we'll re-quote them when it gets time, but I feel like that's the best thing to do. You know, that way we can go ahead, because we all need that bucket truck. Yeah, Christmas is coming, there's a lot of stuff to hang.
Tried to beat you at the second.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
So that's all I wanted to say, why we was gonna delay it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Phillips. Moving on to the other item I had to add to the agenda, we really discussed it at length in the pre-council meeting. The Personnel Board is saying that there's $3,500 owed back in as late as 2016, year 2017. Don't let me say something out of line, Heather, but as explained to me, we can't prove that we paid the money after the research we've done. They're still maintaining that we do owe approximately $3,500. It was discussed by several of you, quite lengthy. I'm not sure what to tell you. We can't prove we paid it. If we can't and they maintain it, I would like to go ahead and put the matter to bed, and we're going to be forced to pay it eventually, and us bringing it up every couple of months whenever they won't let it go or reduce the amount. And I'm not sure they can, since it's prescribed by law how the percentage we pay.
Are you taking discussion?
I'm open for discussion. I mean, it's open now, the meeting is, when we take our formal action, so what's the pleasure?
The only reason I think that maybe we just look at it just for a smidge longer is that if you'll look down on where she said her discrepancy was in August of 2019, well, the history shows invoice payment, et cetera. So if you get down to 2019, so there's invoice in January, payment in February, and that says second quarter. And then you go April, invoice July. So there was no payment for that first invoice there. But then where she said there was the discrepancy, there was two payments. So I'm wondering, and they're both labeled fourth quarter, I'm wondering if we didn't miss a payment and actually remit two payments at once, and it wasn't applied correctly to the third quarter when it should have been. That's the only, in looking at this, that would be my argument, that we need more, I guess, not evidence, but more documentation.
My response to that is the very last page is a list of every check that's been written to them. That's all Edith can produce, and that shows that we clearly did not pay them $5,000 twice.
Like the bank, you write it out of like a check? Like out of,
I mean, it tells you the check number on there, yeah.
I just didn't know if we could go to the bank and ask. I don't, like when I have my app on my phone, I can select the date range and then do checks. I don't know if we have anything like that.
You can't go that far back on.
2
on our
years?
bank.
No? Okay.
That's why you use your software. I mean, that records every check that's been written
Sure.
to that vendor, and that's what that report shows.
We've gone back 2 or 3 times trying to find it. I mean,
Vicky's gone upstairs researching, she's not been able to find anything. I mean, I don't know what else to.
well, I think 2 of the council members, other than yourself, that commented, said that they agreed that we brought it up, if we can find where we paid it. If not, do y'all have any problem if we can't go ahead and settling it instead of taking this into another fiscal year? Because it's coming to a close, and I would certainly like to have it taken care of before we get to October.
Sure.
Okay, so that's my understanding, that we want to study this a little more, try to talk with Mr. Smith and the Personnel Board. If we can't, we will pay the money, but we're also accompanying that if there's anything else, this is making us current at that point, not from 4 or 5 years ago.
Send a letter there.
Yes, making sure. That's really all the items that we had tonight, 9 and 10. We do have resolutions in our box, I think. Was you wanting to just introduce these tonight, Heather? Is that just lay them over for, I mean, is there anything we need that has to be passed tonight?
No, sir. We were gonna, introduce the Bark Park resolution, at the next meeting. We're gonna send out an email so everybody can read over that. Jay produced that today.
Okay.
And we can read over that. She wasn't ready to open the Bark Park, so I don't see a reason to add that tonight.
Got the exemption form.
Yes, sir.
Got the National Estuary.
The only other thing we do have pending is the contract with the Women's Club. We have a resolution for that, but we haven't signed the contract or done anything yet, so.
Ms. Callen, who's here tonight, asked that she and Ms. Lavinia Spotswood want to meet, so I think we all agreed. Jay, you got that ready for them to sign for the Women's Club?
Yeah, I've done it, it's been a while, we've had it for a while.
So,
There
Yes.
was some wording that I believe Ms. Reese was concerned about, the maximum amount or something.
I think it conflicted itself, because at one point it said it's capped at this amount, and then it said, at no time will the city be responsible for any overages. So it was two sections that didn't jive.
I'll look at it, nobody's addressed that with me, but I'll look at it if you want me to.
is there any other business then that needs to come before the council tonight? Pardon?
No, sir. She said she wasn't
Oh,
aware.
I'm sorry, I thought you were saying. Well, if there's no further business to come before the council,
Motion to close.
motion to adjourn. Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor? We are adjourned.
Jason.